Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1323 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Monday, and thank you for joining us as always and making us your first listen each and every day. Check us out across platforms on the podcast side. That includes Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and even on video over at YouTube. And today's podcast will be myself and Robby Kalland, first of two parts, talking about the Eastern Conference and the over-unders on the win totals for each and every team. Every year we do this. Robby is a close friend of mine, and he knows the NBA very well. Used to cover the Hawks at Hawks.com and Peachtree Hoops, other places, and it was a fun conversation with him. Before we dive into that conversation, though, with the over-unders, a little bit of news from the Hawks since they played on Saturday. And by the way, I should tell you that now that I broke down both games in Abu Dhabi on Thursday afternoon and Saturday afternoon. Those podcasts are still available in the feed right now. And on Saturday's show, I briefly said there was kind of no indication at all the Hawks were even considering keeping any of the guys who are on training camp Exhibit 10 deals when they actually came back to the full roster. And just hours after the Hawks landed back in the U.S. on Sunday, they elected to waive all four guys that they had on Exhibit 10 contracts. So as a reminder, that is Tyson Etienne, Chris Silva, Armani Brooks, and Malik Ellison, all of whom could be in College Park this year, potentially, if the Hawks want to keep them around. And after that series of transactions, the Hawks are now down to 16 players on the roster, 14 of them on full contracts, and then the pair of guys, Jarrett Culver and Trent Forrest, on two-way deals. So basically what that means is if the Hawks don't want to do anything else with their roster, they can roll with what they have right now as the season opens in 10 days. So basically, they can just stand pat at this stage. They do have an open roster spot still, and I talked about this at Media Day, but I asked Landry Fields, the GM, about whether they were planning to use that spot. He kind of said no, and they were kind of looking for flexibility there. And they also have Vic Krejci on a non-guaranteed contract, but basically the Hawks don't have to do anything else. And it would not surprise me. In fact, I think it's probably the most likely scenario that the Hawks would just kind of stay pat with these guys, 14 players plus the two-ways, and roll with that as the season nears. But no slight against Etienne and Silva and Brooks and Ellison. All four guys were not likely to make the team anyway. I know there was a lot of fan excitement about Tyson Etienne in particular after Summer League, but always more likely to be in College Park than anything else this year. And that's what the Hawks elected to do as of Sunday. Also, no practice today for the Hawks on Monday. They'll be back in the gym in Atlanta on Tuesday before they travel to Cleveland, where they will play. They'll actually be playing on Wednesday evening in their first game in the United States this year. And then they're actually not coming home, to my knowledge, in between the games on Wednesday and the trip to Birmingham on Friday. So we'll have more on that later on this week. But there you go. That's the latest news on today's podcast. After a short intro to hear the introduction, the video / audio as our theme song would like to indicate, we'll have Robby Kalland coming up with our over-unders on the Eastern Conference.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm joined now by my friend, colleague, veteran of season win total over-unders. Robby Kalland is here. Hello, sir.
What's going on?
We're here. It's Monday. We're talking basketball. We got a little bit of pseudo news before we started recording this podcast, so I'm going to bring you in to discuss that. Normally I would do it on my own, but because you're here, there was a report from Shams Charania a few minutes ago on this Monday that the Hawks have been at least talking to the Phoenix Suns, and the quote was, "in recent weeks and months." I don't know what that really means, other than the fact that it's not like an imminent thing. And I had talked about Crowder quite a bit on this podcast. My short take is that the Hawks certainly could use Jae Crowder if they could have him for free, but it's not going to be for free. And I don't see an obvious path. It certainly seems possible to me. But what do you make of the Villa Rica native, Jae Crowder, coming back home?
I didn't know he was Villa Rica native.
Shouts
to the Frog, great golf course out in Villa Rica, Georgia. I mean, yeah, I'll be honest. I haven't looked. This happened literally like 10 seconds before we hopped on. So I haven't looked at like cap stuff. So I don't know. I guess I'll ask you like what makes the money work, because obviously, and look, Phoenix is trying to trade him for something that's helpful, because Phoenix is not just trying to dump him.
Yep.
So I mean, what's the money? What makes the money work?
The big thing for me is just what you said. Like, if this was a team that was trying to sell, if this was Utah and they're just trying to rebuild, it'd be a lot easier. But Phoenix obviously is going to want a player that can help them. I think the only way it could possibly work would be a deal around Justin Holiday as a guy the Suns could use. And, Crowder makes more money than Holiday does, which the Hawks probably don't want to take on money because they want to stay out of the tax. Also, I don't think the Suns are going to do a Justin Holiday for Jae Crowder straight up deal. So that's the only way. It's like a Holiday plus something else kind of construction. Like if they still had Mo Harkless as filler, which they don't have anymore, that might have made some more sense. Is that more of a cap thing? But like, I mean, Jalen Johnson and Justin Holiday is too much for the Hawks to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what else that looks like. The Hawks are already out some picks. You wouldn't want to trade a first rounder for Jae Crowder anyway, as the Hawks, as to have him be your backup power forward. It's just like he would help them. That's my major take. But I don't see a path. Maybe there's a creative construction where like they kind of swap picks or something like that. But there's nothing super obvious. It kind of has to be Holiday.
Well, and also the reason Jae Crowder's leaving is he wants to start,
which he would not do in Atlanta.
He wouldn't do that in Atlanta. So, like, do you want to trade for a guy who has made clear this is the Cam Reddish thing on the opposite side, right? Like, this is why would you trade for a guy who has made very clear the reason he's asking out is because he wants a greater opportunity. He wants to start. And like the reason he's asking out of Phoenix is because they're going to start Cam Johnson. Like, why would you bring him in when you don't have a spot for him? Like, there's not even like a fit that you could make it work unless you're going to start him over DeAndre, which not happening.
Which they're not going to do. No.
And so like, I just, this feels to me, and I'll say this. This feels to me like Shams needs to get something out there. It's Monday. We don't have an awful lot. Saying they've talked in recent weeks and months tells me that this is kind of half-baked, and we don't have a lot going on in the news world right now for sports, for NBA. So like, I feel like we're just trying to get something going. Somebody wants that out there. It makes, I don't know, maybe it makes it sound like there's more of a market for Jay because, the Hawks have had that conversation, but I'm with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Other than, like you said, like if it was a dump situation from a non-contender, but that's not what's going on. So I don't see how it happens, and I don't see how it works, and I don't see how it's really a great idea for Atlanta to bring in somebody like Crowder unless he's really super into buying into the role he would have, which it doesn't sound like he wants. Maybe he just doesn't want it in Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about like we don't know exactly what Crowder wants, but we know he wants to play, and he'd have a smaller role in Atlanta than he had in Phoenix. I mean, because like whether they've obviously turned the page a little bit to Cam Johnson in Phoenix, but Cam Johnson is not as fully entrenched as John Collins is, and like you can maybe play Jae Crowder some at the 3, but he's really a 4 at this point. Like he can play a little bit of 3 for you, but anyway, we've probably gotten too far on this already, but it's just that was happening as we're starting to record. So unless you have final takes, we will move on to our actual topic of conversation on today's podcast. And I promise you, Hawks fans, if there's more on this, I will have it in the near future. We're going to go in our traditional form here. We're going to go reverse alphabetical order in the East as in an effort to game the system and have the Hawks go last. That's just being transparent. Everybody want to keep the Hawks to the end of this conversation. But basically, over-unders, if you do not know this construction, is like every team has a projected win total. We are going to use our friends at BetOnline, who sponsored this podcast. Shouts to BetOnline for these numbers and kind of just talk about where we would stand. We certainly recommend not betting on every single one of these. In fact, most of them are probably pretty good numbers, and we'll give you our leans and things. But that's our usual stance. Am I right, Robbie? We do not condone betting on all of these.
No, this is where this is my spiel every year, man. We'll let you know when we really like something. Everything else we're gonna give a lean because it'd be bad podcasting to just talk about totals and not give a pick of any kind. But most of these we're going to say don't love it, but over, under, whatever it is. That's pretty much it. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
just a depressing basketball team.
Yeah, the Wizards are first. The Wizards' number at BetOnline as we speak on this Monday is 35.5 wins. They won 35 games last year. They did have a point differential of worse than that, like a 31-32 win team. They had some changes in the offseason. They brought in Will Barton. They brought in Monty Morris. They brought in my guy, DeLon Wright. They drafted Johnny Davis, who's been struggling to this point. They also lost KCP and Ish Smith. But the big thing is like they project to get more health and production from Bradley Beal and Porzingis, who looked pretty good at the end of the year. Porzingis did, but Beal was not good last year. Kind of sneakily, if you weren't paying attention, Bradley Beal was not very good, and he was not always available. So that's probably how this swings. Do you have takes on the Wizards?
I mean, they're aimless and in the desert. Just as a franchise, because I mean, Beal Porzingis is not the core of a contender in any shape. But yeah, I mean, if you can tell me that you're going to get 65 games out of Beal and Porzingis, then it's probably an over. They're going to be but health is going to be a big factor. And Porzingis always has some dings, and Beal has dealt with some stuff in recent years. And I don't hate they have some interesting guys. Kyle Kuzma has become just a good basketball player, a good role player. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how they progress this season, because we're coming off of that Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson game where it's okay, there's going to be this race to tank to the bottom, and it's there's a bunch of these teams that are middling, like Washington. We'll get to Charlotte. And a bunch of these teams that are kind of in the middle here that don't have a clear path in either direction. And it's going to be interesting to see which ones of those just say, look, this is the year to go for it and try to get into the lottery and at least get a swing at it, even if it's not trying to getting to bottom three is going to be tough, because there's three teams that are, I think, pretty clearly going to be the worst in the league this year. But I'm interested to see who else gets in the fray. Washington is one of those teams that has some guys they could trade to contenders if it just isn't going well. So for me, this is a stay away, because I can see the world where Beal and Porzingis are just healthy and they win 38 games. I can also see the world where if there's an injury that knocks Beal out for the year, they say rip cord, or not even out for the year, but if he misses a few months or something like that, or they're just off to a bad start and Kristaps is dinged up or something like that. There's a lot of ways where they are looking at 32 wins and say, why not try to get to 28, and start dealing some off and try to get into this mix for what should be a heck of a rookie class.
Yeah. I don't know. The Wizards, I feel like you're right in the rationale, but they also just don't do the common sense thing.
They sometimes. Don't. They never do. Which is why Beal got a $1 billion extension
with no trade clauses and all that. No, I think I'd probably lean under if you made me choose. But the thing is, they have a lot of competent NBA players on this team.
That's what I'm saying. They could win 38 games. I could see it.
Absolutely. No, they could win 42 games. It wouldn't stun me. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't pick that outcome. But if Beal and Porzingis were both healthy, and that's a huge if, they're not bad. They're just not. There's no upside here. And that's, for me, it's if I don't see clear upside to go comfortably over the win total, I'm not going to take it over. And the under, they might go against what you're saying, and they might just push to the end when they shouldn't. So that's why I'm with you. I think it's stay away. And the Wizards are just kind of, they're not the worst setup in the world, but there's just no upside. I don't see. And Johnny Davis, who I kind of liked, and it's been a disaster so far. I don't know, nothing's good about the Wizards except for DeLon Wright. Hi, DeLon.
Your guy.
Miss you, DeLon. Anyway, that's enough on the Washington Wizards for now. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs, and these days, every single potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to best qualified candidates available, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster, and they do it for free. I've had to hire for a couple of different things in the last few years. LinkedIn Jobs has proven to be an awesome resource. It's incredibly easy to create a free job post at LinkedIn Jobs. They have high-quality candidates that you need to locate your best possible hire. Then once you're set up, add to your job and your purple hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're actually looking to hire. LinkedIn Jobs also has simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to help focus on candidates, to help have just the right skills for you and the experience that you're looking for. You can quickly identify and prioritize them who'd like to interview and then eventually hire. You want to finish the year strong, of course, and finding the right team member is a key piece of doing just that. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find qualified candidates that you want to talk to, and they help you to do it faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That is linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, let's dive into the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors won 48 games last year.
They did.
It was a weird 48 game performance because they played 7 guys all season, and they had at one point they had 4 of the top 7 guys in the league in minutes per game. It was just a ridiculous thing. Their number this year is 46.5 at BetOnline. I know Zach Lowe is like very in on the Toronto Raptors this year. And
Not
listen,
shocked.
if you like them last year, like they didn't lose anything, and they added Otto Porter Jr. and they added Juancho, who's like okay, and they really did lose like nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically for me like, can you bank on them being healthy all year? Is basically it, because if they're healthy all year, they're going to be over. I don't know by how much, but when you play 7 guys and you play 38 minutes a game, like it feels like that's not likely to happen. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I mean it's the way Toronto's operated for a while. They're gonna just play harder than you in the regular season. They're gonna win a few games that they maybe don't win in the playoffs because when you get to the playoffs, everybody's playing a short rotation. Everybody's playing as hard as possible every night. But in the regular season, that's how they grind out some wins. And I would lean over. Like you said, it's nice to have a little more depth. I think maybe they go 8 deep this year and get Otto into that rotation. I just it's hard to see where this team's not just a very competent playoff team in the East, possibly threatening for that 4th spot, maybe that 3rd spot, depending on how things shake out at the top. So, yeah, I mean, I would lean over because it's just they also don't have guys that like play the style that I particularly worry about getting too hurt. But
no, they don't have regression candidates either. Like all their guys are either in their prime or pre-prime. You know, the big thing is like I'm a little bit lower on Scotty Barnes than people seem to be at this point.
Sure.
But he still should be better in year 2 than he was in year 1. That's usually what happens with guys. So like,
is this where I get to do my development's not linear?
I think that might be a good time.
All right. Yeah. I mean, like, here's the thing. Even if Scotty Barnes is just what he was, like if he just plateaus, they're fine. Like there's a world where he takes another leap and then they're, something completely different and even better. But even if he's just what he is, which is a very good defender, a good offensive player with one fatal flaw, and that is shooting from the perimeter, they can make up for that. The one thing that you wonder about them is, like, are they eventually going to try to make a swing for somebody at center because they were in the Gobert talks? We've heard about them targeting centers. I think Jakob Poeltl is the one that you automatically jump to because he's a former Toronto guy, and San Antonio is going to be selling. And so I think it's a wonder of, I think if anything, they're going to add to this team. And so this is not a lock it up because 46.5 wins is not a small number. But yeah, I mean, like I see far more over scenarios than unders here.
I do too. I would not give it out as a best bet or anything just because the East is better. And I kind of don't think they were a 48 win team last year. Like they did it, but I kind of am a little bit skeptical. But like they're going to try. They're well coached. I think I lean over, but I wouldn't give it out just because like how many teams are better. Like the Hawks are better. We'll get to them later.
Right. The East is just a more competent.
So I think my win total for the Raptors would be something like 47-48, which is just barely over, and that's not enough. Exactly. All right, another team that's really interesting is the Sixers. The Sixers,
I actually have a good feel on this one.
They won 51 games last year, and their over-under this year is 50.5. It's juiced to the over at BetOnline, but it's 50.5. They got a lot better in the offseason. Like they added PJ Tucker, they added DeAnthony Milton, they added Daniel House. They did lose Danny Green, but that trade obviously makes them better, and you think that Harden looks to be in better shape. Full season of Harden, Maxey breakout already happened pretty much.
Yep.
I don't know about you. I think Philly is like a sneaky number 1 seed potential this year, and especially if Embiid stays healthy. I mean, the one thing is like if Embiid gets hurt, all bets are off. But he's been healthy enough recently where it's like not as big of a concern as it used to be. So I don't know. I kind of lean preliminarily over on the Sixers. I like them a lot this year.
We gave this out in the Vicini pod when I did this. We're all on the Sixers. Shouts to Sam. Shouts to Game Theory. This is an over for me. They won 51 games a year ago. They got like 20-something games of Harden. And they went over this, and they were literally just playing without a max slot guy for the entire year. Like they won 51 games, and they had Ben Simmons on the roster until the deadline. I don't have a hard time seeing this as a 54-55 win team. I mean, like, I get that the East is theoretically a little bit better, but like, I think this is a really good team. Their question marks for me are all postseason, and Hawks fans know that as well as anybody. It is about, can they figure it out in the half court, on offense in the postseason, because it's been their bugaboo for as long as Embiid's been there, because it's really hard in the postseason when your offense is built around the big man. That's why they went out and got Harden. That's why they are so excited about what Maxi's doing. They needed to add shooting. They did that with, PJ Tucker he does one thing well on offense, and that is shoot from the corner. And that is something that they needed, especially with Danny Green going out. They needed that exact thing to be filled, and they did that while also getting a plus defender. And yeah, I'll buy in on Philly in the regular season all day. Playoffs,
maybe not.
They are firmly in the 2 years ago Bucks realm of show it to me before I believe you. But I fully believe they can win 50-plus games in the regular season, just doing what they do, get a full season of Harden. Like, everybody is so down on Harden after that playoff series. Like, he was solid in the regular season for them. He looks good right now. The question is whether he wears down and whether he's, able to go in the playoffs. Again, every question for me about this team comes in April and May and June if they can get there. Not as much of a question October through March.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. I think if depending on what kind of odds you can get, BetOnline has this bet where you can bet on which team wins the most games in the regular season. I think Philly would be a sneaky bet there. I don't think it's going to happen probably. Like, they're not the betting favorite for a reason, but they are 11-1 right now in the league. I can see them winning 58 games.
No,
like, I would not stun me. And Maxey, if anything, might have a little bit too much helium right now for people. But like, I think he's really good.
No, he's just really good.
He's really good. So, and they're deeper. The defense should be better. PJ is that deal was a concern in the third year, but right now, like, he really helps them. So anyway, I like Philly too. I would definitely go over if you made me choose on that one. Orlando. A little bit different than Philly. They have a 27 win over under. They won 22 games last year. The big thing is bringing in Paolo Banchero, who projects to be pretty good as a rookie by rookie standards, I think. And then they might get Jonathan Isaac back at some point. He's been gone forever. Who knows? And they have Marco Fultz is healthy. Like, it's a weird roster. Like, Franz, my guy Franz, I'm wearing a Michigan t-shirt right now. Go Franz. But, this is a situation where it's like, okay, how much do they lean in? Because all these teams, and we'll get into all of them, all these teams in the 20s, it's like, when do you punt, basically? I think Orlando could be better. They should be better between Franz and Paolo, and maybe a little bit better health. But, like, I don't know if they want to be. Like, are we there yet?
Yeah. So when I did this with Sam, we gave out the over on this.
I kind of lean that way too, but
I lean over. I am now scared.
Yeah.
The Wemby stuff.
I wouldn't bet it for sure.
And no chance. Honestly, for them, it might be the Scoot opportunity or Amen or like one of those guys. Like,
and by the way, we should mention Suggs is already hurt. He got hurt the other night.
Yeah, he got hurt because who was it? Spencer Dinwiddie just like shoved him into a screen.
It was a weird play. Yeah,
and he hyperextended his.
But he's out for a while, and he was bad last year, but that was one of the hopes this year was that maybe he would turn the corner. He's already good.
He's also a really good defender.
Yep.
Like, and so they lose point of attack defense. Yeah, I've backed off my stance a little bit. I'm in on Franz, slap the bag 2023. We're still doing it.
We love Franz on this podcast.
We love Franz. I'm really scared of all these teams that could tank because there's such an incentive this year to try and get the best possible odds. And, with the smoothing thing, like, you don't have to necessarily completely bottom out for, bottom 3, but you want to be bottom 5. You want to have those bottom 5 odds. And so I just, I'm scared of all these teams where I was kind of leaning over on some of these worst teams. That we'll get to it when we do West later. Houston was another one where I felt good about the over, and now I don't feel that way. I'm again, I like what the Magic have done. I'm with you. I think Paolo's going to be a very good rookie in the sense that like that dude is already built like an NBA player. I had never seen him in person until Summer League, and you were like, "Oh,
he's very big.
That's a grown man right now." Like seeing him next to Jabari Smith was, Jabari is what you're expecting out of a rookie big, where it's like, okay, I see where he fills out, but like he looks like a 19-year-old kid, and Paolo looks like he's 25 right now, and he's fairly terrifying. And if he's healthy, like he might just be good. Probably inefficient, but good. And so I'm interested to see what the Magic look like, but I'm no longer locking this one up. I will lean over out of a desire to be optimistic and otherwise understand that there is a chance that they pull the absolute ripcord at some point and say, let's go get Scoop.
Today's show is brought to you by BetOnline, and football is here in a big way. Of course, BetOnline is the number one source for all the pro and football needs that you're looking for across the sports world at this stage, and find all the latest developments, the game matchups, the news, the podcasts at BetOnline, including all the content you need for the weekend slate coming up in college and pro football. BetOnline is a continued source for wagering information that includes live betting and esports and live scores. And BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to consume every sport you might have interest in at this stage. On this show, we talk about the NBA most of the time, and there are plenty of futures out there. In fact, talk about a lot of the stuff right now on this podcast. They have season win totals, they have conference odds, division odds, title odds, individual award odds, and much more. And beyond the NBA, BetOnline has odds and lines on baseball, and MMA, and college sports, boxing, golf, tennis, auto racing, horse racing, soccer, entertainment bets, and much more. Head to BetOnline right now on your mobile device, your computer, to learn more about all the trends and the action across the sports world. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's move on to the Knicks, a interesting team, let's just say. The Knicks, the number is 39.5. Last year, they won 37 games. The year before, of course, they were kind of a weird 4 seed and lost to the Hawks. They were closer to a 40-win team last year, point differential-wise. They should be better on paper with Jalen Brunson and Isaiah Hartenstein. They did lose some vets, and Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks, Taj Gibson. I don't know how Tibbs will go forward without Taj Gibson, but we'll see. This is a weird one for me. I want you to start because I have a take, but I want to know if you agree with me. So go ahead.
This number feels right. I want to preface that with 38 to 41, 42 wins feels like exactly where this team lands. I think I leaned under because I felt like somebody's got to lose some games in the East that, we're kind of expecting to be in that 500 realm, and like somebody's got to just drop them. And I just think the talent deficit against the top probably 7-8 teams is going to be New York is going to struggle against them. But Brunson, Brunson's the most competent point guard they've had in a very long time. And he's good. He's solid. I don't know what they're going to look like defensively. I worry about year 3 Tibbs because that's always when things kind of come off of the rails. We already saw the seeds of discontent last year with guys like Julius Randle. I see opportunity for this to implode. So my lean is under because somebody's got to lose in the East, and year 3 Tibbs, things getting a little bit rocky there. But look, there's talent there. RJ Barrett has continually gotten better, and he, earned that new extension. And, I like him. Quickly, we'll see if Quickly can kind of bounce back. But look, like they're still going to keep playing the old guys. Fournier is going to start at shooting guard over Quentin Grimes, to the dismay of Knicks fans everywhere. And I don't know, he won't play Randall and Obi Toppin. He won't do some of these things. And I just worry about Tibbs year 3 pushes me to the under, but I could see this being a 42-win team.
Yeah, I was really hoping that this number, there's a couple teams in the league where it was like this, where like I was expecting there to be a higher number on the Knicks after they got Brunson. I was like expecting a 42.5 or something like that to pop, and I would have been all over the under in that circumstance. At 39.5, it's like, all right, that's kind of okay. I think I too lean under. It's a weird situation because I if they weren't the Knicks, like take the Knicks-ness off this team, and it's like I'm probably predisposed to kind of liking them.
Sure.
You know, it's like they have a lot of competent guys, but your point about Tibbs is a great one. Like he usually wears out his welcome at some point, and like there are enough vets to get him in trouble. Like I think Randall's a good player, but they treat him like he's better than he is. Fournier, same thing. Like, and Brunson's good, but Brunson is not like a game-changing player. That's I don't want to say he's like overrated. Maybe he wasn't like in some circles, but like I think he's like the 20th best point guard in the league, which is that's a lot better than what they've had.
Right.
But like he doesn't like change your franchise. Like he's a guy that's like gonna.
I think he's a really good like raise the floor type guy.
You want to know what my comp is for Jalen Brunson?
Ooh.
You're gonna love this. Jalen Brunson is like very Jeff Teague-ish.
Yes, I was as soon as you said that, I was gonna like it. I knew you were gonna go with.
He's very Jeff Teague-ish in that like Jeff Teague made an all-star team. He was never an all-star level player. You know what I mean? Yeah. He made that team because they won 60 games. I get it, but like he was like the 17th best point guard in the league for a half decade.
Always.
And that's kind of what it feels like Jalen Brunson might be, and that's not a bad thing. He's a good player.
Make a lot of money doing that.
And that contract looks reasonable too. Like, especially when you look forward to where the cap's going, all that stuff. But like, he's not gonna. If you say, all right, they're adding Jeff Teague to this team, is like that gonna change anybody's mind? Probably not. So I don't know. I kind of think they're gonna be okay. Like they're better than the Wizards. I think I definitely see that happening.
100%.
But their number's 3 wins higher.
Yep.
And they're not as good. And they're not as good. They're not as good talent wise as the teams in the next tier up. Like they're not as good.
That's my issue.
They're not as good as the Hawks or the Cavs or the Raptors. Like they're not as good as those teams. So
look. I mean, there's a clear break. Like you look like they are at 39. The next lowest is 44.5 on the win. Like there's just a clear separation, and I think we're going to see that come to play in the regular season and when those teams meet. And I'm not going to lock it up because again, like you said, they're a deep, competent roster, but like the top end talent just isn't there. They just don't have guys that can go like that.
Yeah, they don't have
unless RJ Barrett makes a monster leap that we're not seeing.
Yeah, they don't have a top 50 player. And that's not like they have a bunch of guys who are top 100 players, like Brunson, top 100 player, Barrett, top 100 player. Like they have some guys who can play. I still think Randall's not bad.
No, Randall can play. There's a notion out there that he's bad like now. He's the number one guy.
Correct. So like they have a bunch of guys who are okay, but that doesn't compare it to what these other teams have. So yeah, we're kind of in the same place there. Lean under and probably not play it. The Bucks are next. Different situation, of course. Championship 2 years ago. Last year, I think they might have won it again, if not for the Milton injury. I think they were going to win that series against Boston at bare minimum, and that would have been interesting finals fodder against the Warriors. But the number is 53 on the Bucks. They won 51 last year. Chris Milton, your former Spades partner, is
terrible at Spades.
He's currently hurt, which is I don't know what that means. And other than that, it's the same exact roster. They brought Joe Ingles in, but he's not going to play until like January. So like it's literally the same team. They brought in Marjon Beauchamp. Hawks fans just got to see them play twice in Abu Dhabi. One of those games they actually tried the opener. Like Giannis played a full workload almost, and the Bucks are really good. 53 is a lot. I have no interest in betting either side of this. Like zero interest, none.
Yeah, I lean over on all Bud.
He's going to be
regular season.
They're going to win games. I agree. Yeah.
They win games. They beat bad teams.
But it's a high number. Like if it was
the hell out of division,
sure,
I hear you. But if Chris comes back and plays 50, 55 games, over. Because here's the thing, they didn't have Brook Lopez at all.
No, he was gone for
They won 51 games. They did not have Brook Lopez at all. Their defense was mediocre until Brook Lopez came back because they just didn't have anybody else. Like they played Giannis at the 5 some, but like behind him, they just didn't have, like it's Bobby Portis. Like you can't play that many minutes of Bobby Portis at center and be an elite defense. When Brook Lopez is on the floor, they are just a dominant defensive team, especially in the regular season. And if he plays 60, 65 games, Chris plays 55 gathis is just a monster. He's terrifying. I just lean over. And Bud, this is what Bud does. Hawks fans know this. Bud wins regular season games. They don't lose to teams they're not supposed to that they're not supposed to lose to. Like you just don't. Like they don't roll into Detroit and get snuck up on by Cade and the Pistons. They get 4 wins out of Detroit, right? Like that's the thing that they do as well. Them and Michael Malone in Denver are 2 of the best at this. And it's kind of the same thing with Toronto. It's like they try and they play, but Bud is they just know how to game plan it. And again, like the flaws come in the playoffs because of the half court offense. But like I lean over. I'm with you. I don't want to lock it up because I think there's a couple teams that are slightly better than them in the regular season in the East, possibly. And I don't think they care as much about it as they used to. Once they won that championship, they kind of throttled back. Like they used to want to win 60. Like Bud used to try to go like, so I think he's learned, like Bud has learned to manage health and give guys nights off and do that in a way he didn't used to. But still, like they're just really good. I would not bet the under. I'll just I'm not locking it up, but I would not advocate on trying to fade this team.
I would not either. And if you made me pick it for my life, I would take the over. No question about that. I just, they don't seem to have the urgency to win. Like even last year, it felt like, the Brook thing was there, but like they know what they are now. This is a team that's seen everything. They don't feel like they have to win 55 games. They're fine. So that's kind of why I would not want to bet it. But
I will say, I wonder if how last year's series win against Boston makes them want home court.
Maybe, but I also think that they probably think deep down, like people have said this enough, like national people like Zach Lowe or whoever said, like they think they were going to win the series, but if they had Chris. So it was like, I feel like they're probably going to point to that more than not.
I guess it's one of the things where like they're so good at home, like
they are
really good at home. I wonder if they say let's make sure, like in case we have something where Drew or Chris or somebody is banged up, like let's try to lock this up. I think there's maybe a little more urgency this year than there was last year. I think last year was very much a coast situation and be right. And the funny thing, it's kind of ironically they did that, and then they had the injury in the playoffs that kind of derailed them that they were trying to avoid by coasting a little bit.
Yep.
So I wonder if they just kind of shift gears and say like, let's just get after it.
That all sounds right to me.
That's the argument against.
Yeah. They're just it's a stay away from me, just firmly. I can't do it, but I'm with you. I'd lean over if I had to. All right, let's go to Miami. Of course, they were in Hawks fans' nightmares a few months ago, throttling the Hawks in that series. But the Heat, man, this is one where I am capital U upset about the number coming down. It opened at like 50.5, 51, and I was ready to give that best bet, everything on the under. I told people this. I told you this offline. I've kind of been very vocally anti-Heat so far, but the number's 48.5 now. I bet online. Like the value's gone. I think. I don't know. I don't know how to do this. Last year they won 53 games. They were the number 1 seed, but I think you're their starting power forward on the Heat. Haywood Highsmith is in the mix. Victor Oladipo's playing the 4. Jimmy says he's not playing the 4, even though he does all the time. It's incredible. I love everything about Miami. Still under, by the way. I just can't say it with like the same vigor that I was going to, because gusto. Like I was very excited to come on here and yell and scream about how it was my best bet, but now I can't say that. But I still lean under at 48.5.
Yeah, I mean, they got worse.
Very obviously worse. PJ's not a star, but like they didn't replace him at all. Like
no.
They brought in their first round pick as a 4 in Jovic, but like he's not going to be ready to do anything as a rookie.
Oh,
like
they got worse. I mean, the fear, as always, is like if Jimmy plays a bunch, like
that is the thing. They could easily go over this number. I'm kind of trolling, but this number is low enough now where they have Jimmy and Spo. Like it's terrifying to bet the under on the.
It's really scary at 48.5. Yeah, I mean, they're not like the question. I think the biggest question for me about the Heat is like, is Kyle Lowry all right? Like we saw him in the playoffs and it was no bueno. What's that? Like that's the question for me. That's the swing for Miami is like, what's Kyle Lowry look like this season? Because obviously they talked in the exit interviews about there's personal stuff that they wouldn't get into that kept him away from the team and he wasn't practicing a ton. Wasn't in the shape that they wanted him to be in and all of that. But like Kyle Lowry's never been like the type of guy to be in like the world's greatest shape. But like, what does he look like this year? Like, does he look better? Because like in the playoffs, it was rough. And like they were better off playing Gabe Vincent than Kyle Lowry, and colored me skeptical that it's the best idea to lean on Gabe Vincent and Max Strus all year again. Like, you talk about regression candidates, and teams that have them, like Miami kind of does. They have some guys that popped last year that I guess for me, I say like, I'd like to see it again. Some of these guys that I'm not sure that maybe surprise other teams and won't be surprises this year, and you'll have scouting reports on. And I will be interested to see how they go. But look, it's Jimmy, it's Spo, it's Bam. If Bam's healthier this year, he clearly wants to win Defensive Player of the Year. He has made that abundantly clear. He thought he should have won it last year despite playing 50 games or something. Maybe they do that, but I'm with you. Like, I'm skeptical on Miami, but just afraid of it enough that I will not. I don't think I'm quite as in on it as you.
I wish I was more in on it now. I'm upset. We waited so long. At 50.5, 51, I would have been leading the podcast with it, creating banners, all kinds of things. But at 48.5, I am less excited. So, and listen, it's Spo. He terrifies me, and Jimmy's really good. So
he's very good.
I'm trolling, but there you go. I wish they had a forward though. Like, in all seriousness, like, they don't have a power forward.
No, they don't.
It's not always that simple, but like, Jimmy's the only guy on the team that can play the 4. I mean, they have Bam, but they don't have a center to play with Bam. So it's like, who knows? Anyway.
Just a lot of Bam, Dwayne Dedmon lineups.
I mean, they could do that, but like, that's it. And I love Dwayne Dedmon, but okay. Let's do one more on part 1 of this podcast. And that is we're gonna end on a high note with the Indiana Pacers.
Oh, Jesus.
The Pacers number is 23.5.
That's come down.
Yeah, that one's gone down as well. Last year was 25 wins, but they won at a 32-win pace last year in terms of point differential. But the problem is they've sold off even more. They could sell off even more in the coming days. Like, there's still a chance they trade Miles Turner. They could still do that.
Buddy Hield.
The Buddy Hield thing is still out there. They do have Tyrese Halliburton. That helps. But they lost Brogdon in the offseason, of course. They did bring in like Ben Mathurin, who I know you love. But he's a rookie. They have Daniel Tice on this team.
Daniel Tice is on that team?
Yeah.
He was in that trade.
He was in the Brogdon trade. It's a very strange.
He'll be back on Boston by the end of the trade.
Yeah, and then it's like, Chris Duarte is around, but it's kind of similar to the
29-year-old Chris Duarte,
second year. It's kind of interesting. Like, they're similar in some ways to Orlando, but they're
worse.
If they have Miles Turner playing all year, I don't know that they are worse.
No, I'm with you, but
it feels like they're going to trade Miles Turner. If they don't, they're crazy. They should trade, and I like Miles Turner. They should trade Miles Turner at some point. And like, I don't know what the plan is there. I guess they have Halliburton and they're going to build around him, but 23.5 is really low. It's the only reason why I'm not saying under, like, flat out.
It's super low, and I'm with you because I'm afraid that they might win 25 games again just because they wait until the deadline to move Turner and Hield, and then they just are rock bottom the second half of the season. But yeah, I mean, they should try to be terrible. Like, they are the exact team that should be like, they should be the worst team in the East. Like, without a doubt, they should be the worst team in the East if they embrace that for once. And they are the team that doesn't tank. They finally did last year. They have never wanted to do this. If there was ever a season you could get fans behind it, it's just run Wemby clips before every game, like on the Jumbotron highlights. Just nothing but Wemby doing stuff, blocking shots, launching 30-foot threes at 7'8". Like, that's what I would be doing. All of these teams, San Antonio, Indiana, Utah, once you embrace that, like, just cut-ins, live cut-ins during games to Metropolitan's 92 games. Like, do it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, once they trade Turner and Hield, like, they said they're not going to trade Turner before the season.
But they could.
They could. Like the GM said, but it's weird because the GM said it on the record.
I mean,
we're not trading him.
That's fine.
But all he said was we're not trading him before the season.
So October 20th.
I really hope it's
10 days from now.
Yes. 1, for the content, and 2, because that'd be fine. I don't know. I mean, I don't even think you can really talk about the team. I love Maturin. He will try to dunk on every single person in the NBA, and I can't wait. But they're just not going to be good, man. Stay away, because it's all comes down to when they trade their guys. But they should and better trade those guys. I got Pacers fans mad at me because I on the Game Theory pod, because I just threw out a little half baked trade. So I'll do this here. We've been trying to get Miles Turner to Charlotte for 3 years now. I feel generally the NBA community has been well, here's a guy that this team doesn't want, and here's a guy that fits what this team needs. Easy, let's do it. It's clearly not going to happen. Let's stop. However, we could get him in a trade involving Charlotte. So I had Vucevic going to Charlotte because they need a secondary option to score, really a primary option to get the ball to the score. And he would kind of balance off with LaMelo. I think they could be really fun offensively. I had Gordon Hayward going to Indiana because we've been trying to get Gordon Hayward to Indiana forever as well. Send the boy home. Sell some tickets while you tank. Be great. You also could do PJ Washington and Kelly Oubre, makes the money work. And then Turner goes to Chicago because they need defense more, and Turner can also space the floor the way Vucevic does, but it's kind of a waste of Vucevic to just have him spacing the floor, but he occupies the same post area that DeMar DeRozan does, and that's a waste of both of them. So I think it just makes the Bulls better. The Bulls definitely win this trade. Somebody's sending picks. I don't know, but that Pacers fans hated me for it, which I thought was a little weird. I'm trying to make you worse and get you Wemby, but sorry.
Yeah, apologies to all Pacers fans that listen to this.
I'm sure there's dozens.
I'm sure there are dozens of us. I'm not I don't hate what they're doing overall. They're not in this place where they are like Washington, where they just have not done anything to rebuild. At least I do like Halliburton. I do like the Mathurin pick. They have some stuff going on for them, but this is a weird year for them. And I would hope that they just lean into it. So 23.5. I don't know. I don't even have a recommendation. I guess maybe over.
Really. I think this is the most stay away team.
It's certainly on my list of I have no opinion whatsoever on this. They could win 20, they could win 27. Sure.
No, you could tell me any number in the 20s and I believe you.
I'll pass. All right, Robbie, before we keep moving on here, we're going to cut this part 1 off at this point, 40 minutes in. People listen to this. Part 2 will be coming very, very soon. But in an effort to plug yourself, Robbie, please share people where they can find your work. I know if you're watching on YouTube, you could see his information on the screen. But podcast, Dime, what's out there for the folks?
Podcast, rolling along.
We love the podcast.
Fraud Stomp Saturday just commenced.
Faithful
and
listener.
Yeah, so you can find that wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can read both of us at UPROXX Sports and Dime Magazine,
where I give out the worst NFL picks in the world in Week 5.
You got smoked this week.
I think it's my second or third all-time 0-5 performance. It was not what we wanted. But alas, please follow Robbie on the Twitter machine and all those things, Dime, podcast, etc. We'll be back with part 2 in the very near future, so stay tuned, subscribe to the podcast. We'll see you next time.